After the fight between Goku and Beerus, Goku returned to his home so he could continue his farming. One day, while he was farming, Krillin came by to visit him, with him asking Goku to hit him. He was reluctant to do so, but he eventually agreed. This caused Krillin to get a bruise, which Android 18 ended up treating. Meanwhile, out in the wastelands, Vegeta was contemplating how he was going to surpass Goku and his Super Saiyan God power. Also in the meantime, Bulma and Whis were going to a tempura restaurant, as she was trying to use this as bribery if Beerus wanted to destroy the Earth again, so her family would be saved. When Vegeta eventually returns to Castle Corporation, he is shocked to see that Whis is there. Though, when he tries to get Whis to take him to Beerus' planet, he must resort to promising to give Whis tasty food in exchange. However, Bulma has already taken Whis to any of the restaurants that Vegeta was able to think of, so he instead resorted to making instant ramen for Whis, so he agreed to train Vegeta. Though, before they leave, Bulma gives Vegeta some new battle armor. It has now been over half a year since Vegeta went to train at Beerus' planet, which both King Cold and Banyu were already there training. Also, in this time, Gohan and Vidal's daughter Pan was born. Though, when Gohan and Hercule were playing rough with Pan, Chi-Chi scolds them when she comes over, since she doesn't want her to be a battle-loving idiot. Meanwhile, with Bulma, she ends up chasing down some robbers and helps the police officer in catching them, which it turns out to be Krillin, who gets a call about Chi-Chi, so Bulma goes over to help calm her down. This is when Goku then finds out about Bulma meeting with Whis, so he asks Bulma to tell him when Whis comes back, though he gets impatient and badgers her about it, to the point that she promises she will call him when Whis does come back. When he eventually gets the call, he takes off fast and begs Whis to train him. Whis tells him to wait until he's done eating, but Goku keeps pestering him as well. Once he finishes eating, he mentions that Goku's impatience could be an issue once they start training. This is when Chi-Chi arrives and argues with Goku about him leaving, though when Whis gets bored and starts to leave, Goku quickly grabs onto him and leaves as well. When they arrive on Beerus' planet, Beerus isn't asleep this time, since in his deal with Cold he promised to train him as well, not to just have Whis train him. I don't know if Cold would be able to wear something like this, but if he could, it's likely Cold now has the earring type accessory we've seen Beerus give to Vegeta in the manga. Beerus would likely tell Cold a similar thing that he did to Vegeta, that he must let his past sins go and rebuild himself, since before creation comes destruction. Also, even though Banyu wasn't included in the original deal, I think Cold would get Beerus' trainer too by having brought extra food on one of his visits, though he also still goes through Whis' training too. So, when Goku and Vegeta do the chores of changing Beerus' bed sheets, scrubbing tree branches, cleaning the Oracle Fish's fish bowls, and cutting the lawn, Cold and Banyu would be helping as well. After Goku receives a new outfit like the ones Cold, Banyu, and Vegeta have, they start their training of carrying weights and running from the disappearing road behind them. That night, while Whis is talking to the Oracle Fish, he reveals they aren't training as Super Saiyan since being in their base form will allow them to get stronger without relying on transforming. Though, in Cold's case, this would be his fourth form, since it implied that the fourth form is the base form of members of the Frieza race. The next day, Whis has them fight him, as he dodges all their attacks. This is when he mentions they need to master independent bodily reactions, which is something Beerus has not done yet. Meanwhile, deep in space, Sorbet was dealing with a rebellion on Frieza Planet 448. He has little troops to do anything though, so he orders them to withdraw from the rebellion. When leaving, his ship is struck by an unknown force, which turns out to be Champa and Vados. Champa has Vados destroy the planet, but it turns out to be the wrong one according to them, so they then take off in search of another planet. Then, deep in Hell, we see Frieza in a cocoon being tormented by stuffed animals and the Angels of Hell. Back with Sorbet, he decides that it would be better for them to revive Frieza, so he sets his sights on Earth. Then, back on Beerus' planet, Whis ends up drawing his signature on their clothing. He also gives him the advice that Vegeta needs to learn to relax, while telling Goku that he is too relaxed. I'm not sure what advice he could give to Cold and Banyu, but I can see it being that they need to relax more too, since they are more serious about things like how Vegeta is. Then, back on Earth, Piccolo is babysitting Pan for Gohan and Videl when he notices an evil energy in the distance. This is when Sorbet and Tagoma arrive on Earth to gather the Dragon Balls. As usual, they run into the Pilaf gang, which they have already gathered the Dragon Balls. They convince them to let them have a wish, with them wishing for Frieza to be resurrected. Regardless, when Shenron says they have 2 more wishes, Shu asks for 1 million Zenny and my wish is for the world's best ice cream. Afterwards, Sorbet and Tagoma gather the pieces of Frieza and take him to the ship. He's then put into a healing pod, which renews him to how he used to be shortly afterwards. After Frieza is completely revived, he briefly reviews the status of his forces, which there are even less than the 1,000 usual soldiers left in the Frieza force, as many rejoined King Cold's empire after seeing how it was ran now. This is when he asks about his father, which is when they tell him that Cold has become good and is still running his empire. This, of course, angers Frieza, so when he declares revenge on the Saiyans, he also declares revenge on his father. But after hearing that Buu was defeated by them, Frieza decides to train for 4 months. Back on Beerus' planet, while Goku, Vegeta, Cold, and Banyu are training, there ends up being a brief flash of blue from the two Saiyans and a flash of gold from Cold. Anyway, 4 months later, Jacko arrives on Earth and goes to Capsule Corporation to see Bulma, which he warns her that Frieza is on his way to Earth with hundreds of soldiers. Since Videl and Gohan are also part of the Galactic Patrol in this timeline, they came with Jacko. Bulma then tries to contact Whis with the bribe of a strawberry sundae to get the heroes to come to Earth. When they don't answer, she instead contacts the Z Fighters. After Krillin is called, he has 18 bring in his gi and cut his hair. They then get the sensu beans from Korin before meeting up with Master Roshi, Tien, Piccolo, Videl, and Gohan. While the Frieza Force starts land, Bulma and Jocko arrive on the battlefield too, while she forces Jocko to fight as well. As Frieza exits his ship, he recognizes Jocko and Piccolo, but Bulma tries to plead for more time for Goku to arrive. Frieza only gives him 10 seconds, and after he doesn't show up, Sorbet orders them to attack. While the heroes are fighting his forces, Frieza recognizes Gohan but is disgusted by him being like Goku. Meanwhile, back on Beerus' planet, Beerus suggests that we should send him to that place to train so he could have a little bit of peace and so they can get stronger too. Back at his fight, since Gohan didn't stop training this summon, he easily defeats Shizune, so Takuma doesn't blast him through the chest. This is when it is revealed Takuma became Frieza's training partner for the past 4 months, so he has become far stronger. At this time, Goten and Trunks notice the frog that Ginyu switched bodies with on Namek and Jocko's ship. While Takuma is fighting with Piccolo, Gotenks arrives and kicks Takuma in the crotch. However, they end up defusing and hide with Bulma and Jocko. As Takuma is muled over in pain, he ends up noticing the frog and reads what he wrote on the ground, which causes him and Ginyu to change bodies. Ginyu then explains what happened with him to Frieza, which freezes his police to see him. While Ginyu attacks all of the heroes, Bulma and Jocko keep trying to contact Whis. Then while Goku, Vegeta, Cold, and Banyu figure out they must go to Whis' staff as the guide, Gohan is easily overpowering Ginyu. He never stopped training, so he can still easily access Super Saiyan. However, if Frieza goes to shoot him with a death beam, Piccolo takes the blast for him. Back with Beerus and Whis, Beerus gets frustrated because he's out of pizza and wants more, so Whis brings him out of that place so he could use his staff again. This is when Whis notices the message from Bulma, so Whis tells him it would take 35 minutes for them to return to Earth. Goku and Cold then teleport Banyu and Vegeta to the Earth after they notice Gohan's ki when he is a Super Saiyan. Goku then teleports Piccolo to the lookout so they can revive him with the Namekian Dragon Balls. Back at the battlefield, Ginyu tries to interfere, but Vegeta easily blasts him away and kills him. Then, as Frieza exits his pod, he kills the rest of his forces that were with him for failing, except for Sorbet. He would then transform into his final form, as he prepares to fight Cold first. Normally he would want to start with fighting Goku, but he thinks his father is a failure and that angered him more. While both in their 4th forms, their fight would be long and drawn out since he would be fighting evenly for a little bit, though Cold would eventually show off his 5th form, which causes Frieza to use even more of his power. With Frieza's more intense training in his timeline, since he also knew he had to fight his father, he would be slightly ahead of Cold power-wise in his 5th form. When Cold resorts to his 6th form, however, Frieza would be getting beat down at first. He eventually asks Cold if this is all he had, as Frieza then shows off his golden form to his father. While Cold did get a brief flash of the golden form earlier, he didn't achieve it yet, but he figures this is what that flash of gold was. Frieza would go on to tell his father something like, "You can obtain this power too. You just have to ditch those pitiful monkeys and join my side, so we can rebuild the Empire in the right way." Cold would, of course, refuse this, which Frieza would say he understands. He'd go on to say that he agrees to join Cold then, which catches him off guard, but this is on one condition. Frieza tells him, "You must always keep your guard," then shoots him through the chest with a death beam. Before he dies, the last thing he hears is how Frieza made all of that up just to get his father to lower his guard. Besides a slight change, the rest of the Resurrection F saga goes the same. The only difference is that Goku starts out his fight with Frieza as the Super Saiyan Blue right away, since Frieza already turned into his golden form. While their fight goes on, Jocko would still try to take pictures to get Earth destroyed since it is too dangerous, but Bulma still smashes the camera. Meanwhile, while Beerus and Whis are on their way to Earth, they run into Champa and Vanus. So after some brief bickering, they go on their way. Beerus and Whis then arrive on Earth, which worries Frieza that he is there to destroy him. But Beerus reassures him that the gods of destruction don't take sides in mortal affairs. Anyway, the fight eventually begins to move in Frieza's favor, so he begins to gloat. But when Goku goes to his full power and seemingly wins the fight, he drops to his base form, which is when Sorbet shoots him through the chest. Then when Krillin goes to give Goku a sensu beam, Frieza tries to finish Goku off with a death beam, but Vegeta deflects the blast. which then hits and kills Sorbet. Vegeta then starts to pummel down Frieza after transforming into Super Saiyan Blue. As Frieza reverts to his fourth form of Vegeta goes to finish him off, Frieza blows up the Earth. Whis protects some of the heroes, including Goku, with an energy shield, which is when Whis explains he can rewind time by 3 minutes at most. After he does this, Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue again and disintegrates Frieza with his God Kamehameha. Vegeta then tries to accuse Goku of stealing his glory, but Bulma goes on to tell Vegeta what happened. Goku then goes to New Namek and wishes for both Piccolo and King Cold to be revived. Everyone would then go to Capsule Corporation to celebrate the defeat of Frieza. While there, even though Gohan is stronger in this timeline, he still feels guilty since he can't protect Videl and Pan from being killed. Along with blaming himself for Piccolo's death, he asks Piccolo to train him again. Though since Gohan and Videl still work with the Galactic Patrol, it might take a little bit of time off so Gohan can do this training, since I don't think Piccolo would be interested in going with him to join the Galactic Patrol. After this celebration ends, Cold will return to his ship before he goes back to Beerus' planet. Since he was defeated at the hands of his son, and he is falling behind the Saiyans, he decides to use the hyperbolic time chamber that he had Dende make. He and Banyu would go in there together, and they stay in there until he achieves the golden form, which, since he has already achieved the brief flash of this form, it shouldn't take him long to achieve it. So, after achieving the golden form, he and Banyu would exit the hyperbolic time chamber. Meanwhile, back in the depths of hell, Frieza is screaming in rage as the angels of hell welcome him home.